Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And tonight's Dynamite was from Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. And it's the second time that AEW has gone to Daily's Place. And the first time they went there, I really liked it. I loved the look of how Daily's Place was for that Dynamite, which to me was one of my favorite Dynamites. And tonight on Dynamite, we had two surprises, and one of them being that we find out who the Exalted One is of the Dark Order. And I really loved tonight's Dynamite. It was a very good show tonight. Possibly my second favorite Dynamite show of this year. And for AEW to pull tonight's show off with no crowds being in attendance because, of course, of the whole coronavirus, AEW delivered tonight. They really did. And WWE needs to take notes on how to do Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and Friday Night SmackDown, like what Dynamite did tonight. And how they did it was, tonight AEW got their guys sitting in, front row, like where, like the crowds would sit. I mean, you saw MJF, Shawn Spears, Sonny Kiss. Later on in the main event, you saw Dustin Rhodes. We had Jake the Snake Roberts, Lance Archer. They were just in the crowd. They were giving, the matches a little bit of, hype. MJF was for me the highlight of the night because all he was doing with he was sitting next to Shawn Spears, and all they were doing was, betting money tonight to see, whose picks would win, the matches, which I thought was funny. But we had the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon, and Phoenix take on the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent. Orange Cassidy came out along with them, of course. We had the women's match, Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford, Riho and Kris Statalander. And then we saw the Jurassic Express versus the Butcher and the Blade. And in the main event, we saw the Inner Circle of Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz versus the Elite, Cody Rhodes, Hangman Page, and Matt Jackson. And the winner of that match will get to receive entry, the advantage for the Blood and Guts match for next week on Dynamite. So, all in all, like I said, loved Dynamite tonight. It was a very good show. So let's jump right into the review. So Dynamite kicked off tonight with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was in the ring. The Daily's Place was, dark, and it just had a spotlight on Cody. And Cody addresses the, situation going on with, the virus, with the coronavirus. He ended up saying that we as human beings have to stand together. And for now, that means at a distance. And this whole promo that Cody cut, it was really good, very well done. Very well done what Cody had to say. He was speaking, real situations that are going on, of course. And then we see the camera ends up showing the entire arena of the Daily's Place, empty. Cody ends up saying that he refuses to live in a prison of fear. He said he feels alive, and that he hopes the fans who are watching at home on TNT feel the same. He then went on to talk about his fellow stablemates. He ends up telling Matt Jackson that his anger toward Hangman Adam Page is very misplaced, and he says that he needs to carry Nick Jackson's heart, so the Elite can get the advantage at Blood and Guts. And Cody then ends up talking about Hangman Adam Page. Says, over and over that Hangman Adam Page is the best wrestler that AEW has, in the company. And Cody ends up telling Page that he lost to Chris Jericho for the title. And says, it's time to get over that and be the reason that the Elite will win at Blood and Guts. So Cody then starts talking about Kenny Omega. He says that him and Omega are friends, and they constantly banter about, who's 1A and 1B. He ends up saying that he needs Kenny Omega, and that he needs the real Kenny Omega, the best bout machine. So then we saw Matt Jackson, Kenny Omega. They made their way out, and again in the ring, Cody ends up holding the ropes for the both of them. Kenny Omega gets on the mic, and he agrees what Cody said. And he says, Cody haven't seen eye, but they are here. Matt and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega ends up saying that the world is falling apart, and that they don't even know if they will have Dynamite next week. He says, but it's up to him, and they want to go out the same way they came in, as the Elite. So Matt Jackson gets on the mic. He says it's just 3 of them in the ring. And Nick Jackson is out indefinitely because his injury. And Hangman and Page ends up coming out. He has, of course, a drink in hand. He doesn't come into the ring, but he stayed on the other stage. Matt Jackson ends up saying that he knows things have been weird lately. And he says he's asking Hangman Adam Page as a man if Page will stand with them tonight and next week at Blood and Guts. So Hangman Adam Page, nods. He gives them cheers, and then he heads to the back. And then Kenny Omega ends up talking straight to the camera, to the people who are watching at home. He ends up saying that he knows they are out there and can feel our energy. He says, so the best that they could do is give them the best possible show. Well, Kenny Omega, I gotta say, you guys definitely gave us one hell of a show, and it was a good one. We really loved it. So Kenny Omega ended up calling for the lights. They had pyro, which was cool. And then Dynamite ended up starting. The music for Dynamite ended up playing. And that was how the promo ended. But this was a really well done promo to open Dynamite. Cody Rhodes speaking from his mind. And it was everything that was real that Cody was saying, with the current situation that's going on here. And I like that, Matt and Kenny Omega came out, and Kenny Omega talking to us fans who were watching from home. It was just really well done, in my opinion. Good opening. Very good opening. And it shows, the commentators, JR, Jim Ross, Excalibur, and also Taz was on commentary tonight. Taz, always good to listen to him on commentary. And Tony Schiavone wasn't on commentary, so Taz ended up replacing Tony Schiavone for the night. But Tony Schiavone was in attendance tonight. He was just, interviewing some of the guys there that were sitting, front row, just, watching the matches with some of the other talent. So then we went right to Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was talking with MJF, and he asks MJF, about tonight. MJF ends up telling Tony Schiavone that he was offered money to wrestle tonight. He ended up saying that he'll pass and let the mid-card entertain us. So that showed MJF and Shawn Spears gambling with money on the matches that we are about to see tonight, that we saw tonight. So MJF ends up asking Tony Schiavone if he wants to get in on the action. I guess make Tony Schiavone bet money. So that was basically that. But MJF was one of the highlights throughout the show tonight. Him betting money along with Shawn Spears. Then we went right to the first match. Brandy Rhodes ended up doing the ring announcing tonight because Justin Roberts wasn't there. So the first match was the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent versus the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon and Phoenix. And like I said, a couple of the talent were watching at ringside. You saw Sonny Kiss, MJF, of course, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Colt Cabana was there at ringside watching the matches. So, but Best Friends versus Lucha Brothers, this was an entertaining match. This was a very good match. Orange Cassidy was on commentary, and he didn't really speak. And there was a point where he was just, looked like he was like sleeping on commentary. He didn't even say a word, but I thought that was funny. The image of him just, just being like with his glasses on, just sleeping. But like I said, Best Friends versus Lucha Brothers, it was a very good match. Match started off with Phoenix and Trent. They were delivering chops back and forth to each other. Trent ended up doing a standing double stomp to Phoenix. Chuck Taylor ended up coming in, started flexing with Trent. MJF was heard yelling out, don't let the haters get to you. You're in great shape for a potato." And, right from right there, like I said, MJF being at ringside was the highlight of the night. So the camera ends up cutting to Orange Cassidy. And, we're showing of him, just sleeping. He may or may not have been sleeping, but he was just like with his glasses on, like. And so the cameras kept showing the other talent watching the match. It was cool that they were, giving some noise. Something that WWE needs to take notes on. Having some of their talent, at ringside, just watching the match. Give the match, a little bit of a boost, with cheers and stuff. But from tonight, I could tell WWE is going to copy this, and they're going to have some of their talent at ringside. I bet you they're going to do that. I wouldn't be surprised. So we had a point in the match where Orange Cassidy ended up standing up from the commentary table. He stares at Phoenix. Trent ended up taking down Pentagon. Phoenix ended up dropping Chuck Taylor. All of them were down. And Orange Cassidy ended up making his way down to the stage. And Orange Cassidy did a splash on Pentagon and Phoenix, and that was really awesome. He did it with his hands in his pocket, of course. And at the end of the match, we had Pentagon and Phoenix picking up the win. They delivered a package pile driver double stomp to Trent, and that was basically the match. But Pentagon and Phoenix win it. Pac wasn't out there with Pentagon and Phoenix because, they're part of the Death Triangle. But all in all, very good match from both of these teams. Post-match, Tony Schiavone ended up talking with the best friends. Chuck Taylor ends up saying that he doesn't appreciate his friend getting kicked between the legs. And he ends up wanting a rematch. So he ends up challenging Pentagon and Phoenix to a parking lot street fight next week on Dynamite. So that's going to be very entertaining to see next week. That's going to be really awesome, seeing a parking lot street fight. And then we had the women's match. We had Penelope Ford versus Hikaru Shida versus Riho versus Kris Statalander. This was a decent women's match. Penelope Ford came out along with Kip Sabian. And the match started with Riho and Penelope Ford fighting because apparently both Riho and Penelope Ford had a match on AEW Dark, which I think was last night. That was on YouTube. I don't watch AEW Dark, but I think I heard that. I think Riho beat her on Dark last night. So Kris Statalander and Hikaru Shida end up trying to do a suplex, a double suplex on Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford ended up blocking it, tried to fight them off. Kip Sabian, at points in this match, got involved. He ends up tripping both Statalander and Hikaru Shida. And then we had, they end up landing forearms. Riho ended up getting sent out to the floor. Hikaru Shida ended up doing a thumb to the eye on Kris Statalander. Statalander ended up delivering a lariat to Hikaru Shida. Penelope Ford ended up leaping off the top rope, and the landing for that was pretty rough for Penelope Ford. And Riho ended up delivering forearms to Penelope Ford. She ended up also delivering a drop kick to Kip Sabian. And Sabian tried to help Penelope Ford. And Riho ended up delivering a flying knee to Kip Sabian. And at the end of the match, Hikaru Shida ended up picking up the win. She ended up hitting a knee strike on Penelope Ford. So there you go. You had Hikaru Shida win the match. Overall, it was a decent women's match. Then after that match, you had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was talking with Colt Cabana, knowing that Colt Cabana is 2-0. So Tony Schiavone ends up asking Colt Cabana if he's scout. Colt Cabana ends up saying, "This is weird, but he's scouting for sure." He ended up saying that the women's division is looking great. And I gotta agree with him. The women's division, is getting a little bit better. But still needs, some work, in my opinion. And Colt Cabana ends up saying that he's pretty sure none of them will bite him. And, of course, Colt Cabana here was referencing to when Shayna Baszler ended up biting Becky Lynch. So Colt Cabana referenced that, taking shots at WWE. And Colt Cabana ended up saying that he thought the match was great between the women. He ended up saying Penelope Ford did a great job, and would have won if she didn't have her boyfriend, Kip Sabian, get involved so much. So Kip Sabian ends up hearing what Colt Cabana had to say. He ended up coming over. Kip Sabian ended up asking if Cabana wants to go. He then shoves Cabana. And then Cabana tries to laugh it off. Gets shoved again by Sabian. Colt Cabana then comes in and slaps Sabian. And because of that, Kip Sabian ends up going to the back with Penelope Ford. And then Colt Cabana's like, "Oh, look at him, run away." So now it's basically that. But pretty much, basically, we're going to be seeing Kip Sabian versus Colt Cabana. So if that happens, that will be, a pretty decent match to check out. And then Tony Schiavone, this was done earlier today. We saw Tony Schiavone. He was talking with Jon Moxley outside of Daly's place. This was earlier in the day. Tony Schiavone ends up saying that Jon Moxley isn't medically cleared for action, and that Moxley can't enter the arena. Moxley ends up telling Tony Schiavone that he goes where he likes and can't believe he's not being allowed to enter the Daly's place. And he says he's going to take a little drive, instead of causing chaos. Moxley ends up saying that he will see the Inner Circle soon and wouldn't miss blood and guts for the world. It was pretty decent. Pretty decent little thing that we saw with Jon Moxley. So Moxley isn't done with the Inner Circle. And then we saw the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus the Butcher and the Blade. And of course, the Bunny, aka Allie, wasn't with them tonight. But the match, of course, it was a good match. Really enjoyed the match. You had the Butcher and the Blade when they came out. They end up talking with MJF. And we see MJF ends up handing the both of them money. Couple of bucks. And We hear MJF say, "Oh, looks like Tarzan wrestles like Jane," which he ended up yelling at Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. So Jungle Boy starts off the match, ends up working on the blade. Jungle Boy ends up delivering a springboard arm drag on the blade, and Jungle Boy ends up then getting worked over by the Butcher, end up delivering a chop to Jungle Boy's chest. Jungle Boy starts getting back and throwing chops. Butcher ends up dropping Jungle Boy with one chop, which was a very hard chop. So Luchasaurus comes in and he's laying kicks to the blade, and he hits a moonsault off the apron to Butcher, and he drives the blade's face into the canvas. It's a spinning kick, and the Butcher ends up breaking up the cover. Jungle Boy was in there. He's throwing some shots to the Butcher, but Jungle Boy ends up getting thrown out to the floor. And we hear MJF yells for the finisher for Butcher and the Blade. Luchasaurus then breaks it up. Butcher gets sent out to the floor, and Jurassic Express end up winning the match. They end up hitting a cutter, a double cutter on the Blade. So now it's basically that. The Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus end up winning. All in all, it's a good match between these guys. And then we have the reveal of the Exalted One, finally. So we saw Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. They came out to the ring. Evil Uno ended up saying that the Exalted One is near, and that the rest of the Dark Order will see what he's seen. He says he promised the Exalted One is near and never lies. He ends up saying that the Exalted One is near, like a whole lot of times. So then we see Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. They end up coming into the ring. Christopher Daniels ends up telling them to stop, and that he's tired of all these lies. He ends up saying that the Dark Order hasn't made anyone any better, and that he's sick of it. Christopher Daniels then ends up saying, "Oh, there is no Exalted One, and it's just, Stu Grayson and Evil Uno." So we hear music being played, by video. And we see a masked man walks, forward. And this is where we get the reveal of the Exalted One in this video. We hear a man say, "We do what we want, when we want. If I want something, I take it." So this guy, the reveal of the Exalted One, removes his mask, and we find out that it is Brodie Lee. Yes, Brodie Lee, aka Luke Harper, as we all knew him in WWE. So, and I was really surprised that the Exalted One was Brodie Lee. Me and everybody thought that the Exalted One would be Matt Hardy, but apparently that wasn't the case. So Brodie Lee ends up saying that Christopher Daniels is unsafe thanks to all of his talking. He ends up saying that "you are not the first out of touch old man who didn't believe in me." And what Brodie Lee saying about that, he knew he was talking about Vince McMahon. He was bashing Vince McMahon. And you know what? I don't blame him. I don't blame him for saying that. Because you know why? Because AEW is going to treat him much better than what Vince, how Vince treated him when he was in WWE. So he ended up taking shots at Vince McMahon because of what he said, you are not the first out of touch old man who didn't believe in me. But he also said, I'll make damn sure you are the last. So the video ends, and we see Brodie Lee is behind Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. So Brodie Lee, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson attack Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. So then we see John Silver and Alex Reynolds. They get in the ring. Evil Uno ends up yelling out, "Who are you?" And the rest ends up yelling, "We are one." And Brodie Lee ends up standing at the front of the Dark Order. And that was basically that. But very good reveal. Very good reveal of the Exalted One, who was, of course, Brodie Lee. Everyone was, like I said, everybody, including me, was thinking the Exalted One would be Matt Hardy because, I going into this whole Exalted One thing, I was picturing Matt Hardy being it. But I am fine with Brodie Lee being the Exalted One. And AEW is going to treat Brodie Lee, really good. Look how they did it for, Jon Moxley. It's going to be awesome how the way, AEW is going to be doing with Brodie Lee. And now that he's the Exalted One. But very good reveal. And then we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was talking with Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. Schiavone ended up asking why Lance Archer and Roberts are here at ringside for 2 weeks. Jake Roberts ends up saying that Lance Archer is not here to talk. And Roberts says that he gave Cody Rhodes a warning and that he hasn't said anything. Roberts ended up saying that they don't play games and that he understands Cody wanted to stay out of harm's way. But for Cody to ignore them completely, and Roberts, says that he isn't okay with that. And he ends up telling Cody that it's time for him to stand up and meet Lance Archer. He ends up saying Cody had a chance to meet them, but now he's going to have to get Cody's attention. So then we went to a promo for Lance Archer at some kind of mansion. And we see a ring is set up in the back of this mansion. People were surrounding the ring. We hear a ring announcer ends up saying, "Who's ready to try or die against Lance Archer?" So Lance gets into the ring, and this first opponent, tries to go at him. And he gets, choke slammed out of the ring. And pretty much Lance Archer is just destroying him. So another guy ends up getting into the ring. He ends up taking a big boot from Lance Archer and it's planted to the mat. And the opponents just keep coming in and coming in. And all of them get taken out by Lance Archer. And so we see Jake Roberts. He's watching from the distance. And so Lance Archer ends up taking out everyone. And he ends up taking out this guy who's his final challenger. He takes this guy, chokeslams him on the hood of a car. And that was basically how, the promo ended. But very good promo. Very good promo from, Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts still knows how to, cut a promo. But more good build for, Lance Archer. So then we went to the main event. It was the Inner Circle, Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz versus the Elite, Cody Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page, and Matt Jackson. Of course, the Inner Circle, Sammy Guevara was by Hager, Santana, and Ortiz. Arneson and Kenny Omega were out there, with Cody, Hangman Adam Page, and Matt Jackson. And this was a 6-man tag. The winners of this match will receive entry advantage into the Blood and Guts match for next week. And we saw ringside Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall were in the crowd for the match. And Chris Jericho ended up coming out. He ended up getting on commentary, and when he came out, Sammy Guevara was singing Judas, which was, pretty funny, but terrible at the same time with his singing. But it was funny. Guevara singing Judas. And then we saw Hangman Adam Page. It showed like hand washing was used for his graphic. And, MJF ends up yelling at Cody. He was like, "Oh, where'd you get that tattoo? Six Flags?" which was funny. And Cody Rhodes' attention was staying on MJF, for a little bit. Match ended up beginning. Him and Santana were in the ring. They started the match. Cody ended up hitting a spinning power slam on Santana. And Ortiz ended up coming in. They ended up delivering a double suplex to Cody. Matt Jackson ended up coming in, did a double axe handle. Cody then came right back in, started beating up Ortiz. And Hangman on Page was already pissed because he didn't get into the match yet. And Hangman on Page then booted Ortiz in the face. Matt was taking care of Santana. Hangman on Page ended up taking himself in. Santana, as soon as Hangman on Page got into the ring, Santana immediately started beating him up. And Page ends up hitting clotheslines on Santana. And Cody ended up taking in. Ortiz ended up getting a cheap shot on Cody. Santana ended up clotheslining Cody out of the ring. Delivers a super kick. And Ortiz ended up sending Cody into the ring apron on the outside. And then Hager was in the ring. Hager had control of the match on Cody. He ended up delivering a face lock, drive Cody into the corner. And at the end of the match, Hangman Adam Page and Matt Jackson end up going for the Indie Taker. Hager ends up yanking Page down to the floor. And Santana end up rolling up Matt Jackson for the win. So there you go. Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz end up winning the match. So the Inner Circle will get entry advantage into the Blood and Guts match next week on Dynamite. And then here, post-match, is where the second surprise came in. And I am really happy that they finally signed this guy, and he appeared tonight right on Dynamite. So post-match, the Inner Circle ended up celebrating on stage. Jericho was on the mic. He ended up saying that they have all the advantages. Jericho ended up saying that he's banning all fans from events until he says so. He ended up saying that he doesn't care what's going on in the world. They are gone until he says so. So Jericho ends up, talking crap about the Elite, saying that they only have 4 guys, while they have 5. He says that the Elite doesn't stand a chance. And he ends up saying that the Inner Circle just wins. And they haven't shown a crack as a group. He says, when it comes time for Blood and Guts. So Jericho then ends up calling out Brandy Rhodes and Dustin. So Jericho ends up talking, trash to them. And then suddenly, we see a drone. A drone is shown flying above the ring. And we find out that it's Vanguard 1. Of course, it's a drone, map, which I'll get to. So, Matt Jackson gets on the mic, and he ends up saying that Jericho was wrong about how many guys the Elite have. So Matt ends up saying that he made a phone call to a friend who owed him a favor. Of course, the drone was, landed right in the ring. And we go up into the rafters. And we see Matt Hardy. Yes, Matt Hardy. Big surprise, another big surprise tonight. And, we saw a shocked look on Jericho's face, which, looked like he's seen a ghost. And so the Inner Circle on stage looked on. Matt Hardy was doing his delete, which was awesome. It's been a while since we've seen Matt Hardy do the delete. So, and that's how Dynamite ended tonight. But this was really awesome. Glad that Matt Hardy is now a part of AEW. We all knew that he was going to be signing with AEW. Like I said, we all thought that he was going to be the Exalted One. Fortunately, it was Brodie Lee. But, looks like we're going to be seeing Matt Hardy doing his delete, again. So this is awesome. This is really awesome. Loved this ending. Really did. So now Matt Hardy is going to be the 5th guy heading into, Blood and Guts with the Elite and the Inner Circle. Well, Matt Hardy's going to be part of the Elite. But all in all, love Dynamite tonight. This was a really good show. Probably my second favorite Dynamite show of this year. It was just really good. They really delivered tonight, even though we didn't have a crowd. But we got some of their talent, being in, the crowd, just giving the matches, a little bit of, reactions. But it's something that WWE needs to do, and hopefully WWE, we don't see them giving us, repeat matches from pay-per-views that we have seen, before. So WWE needs to stop being lazy. And probably after tonight, WWE is probably going to look at this and start putting their talent in the crowd so that they could give the matches a little bit, more reactions. So I wouldn't be too surprised if WWE ends up doing what Dynamite showed us tonight. But anyways, that's it for the AEW Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, which will possibly be the SmackDown review. So until then, I will see you all Friday with the SmackDown review.